It's all about having the right infrastructure to build the team, to make it happen so that it's not overwhelming. You are the specialist that they're hiring to build their entrepreneurial venture. And when we get clear that that's what's actually happening, what does life look like when you get to attribute your skill sets that you want to get paid for to you and your venture?
Welcome to the Aid to Assets podcast, the ultimate podcast for aspiring real estate investors. I'm your host, Tiffany Watson. Join me as we discuss real estate investing for 9-to-5ers. We'll talk about everything from money mindsets and property ownership and different strategies you can use to invest in real estate. I want to empower investors, especially those of us who are working full-time, who want to navigate the world of real estate, uncover the secrets to building wealth, generate passive income to achieve financial freedom. Equip yourself with resources from experts, practical tips, and step-by-step guides on how to kickstart your real estate journey. We'll also hear from 9-to-5ers who started to build their own portfolios, what they did and how they did it, so you can do it too. Tune in and transform your main job into your biggest silent investor in your real estate investment business. This is your Aid to Assets. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Aid to Assets podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Watson, where I get to interview 9-to-5ers who have made the transition into real estate investing and the team that have helped them so you can figure out how you're going to do it too. I am so excited about my guest today. Jessica is going to put us on some real game. Jessica, how you doing?
Oh, I stay living the dream. How you feeling? Thank you so much for creating this space.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. So before we jump in, why don't you introduce yourself, tell the people who you are and what you do while you live in the dream.
Hey, my name is Jessica Myers. I'm a real estate developer and entrepreneur. And one of the things that I actually studied journalism back in college. So I started out my career in media. I went and in high school, I actually started working at Fox 5 here in Atlanta, and then all the way to CBS in New York by the time I graduated college. So I exponentially went to the top of the ladder until I realized, my dad was like, I was telling him how hollow the experience felt in New York. And he was like, what if your ladder was on the wrong wall? And I was like, wow. And that's when I got shifted into this journey of self-discovery. And that's when I found out about real estate, which not only because I was like, well, let me find another wall to get the ladder on so I can hurry up and climb to the top. And that's when I realized entrepreneurship gave me the access now to build my own tables. So it's no longer about climbing to this top of the perceivable ladder, because you get focused on the wrong thing. It's now building tables and communities to even build the walls for you to climb. And that's one of the things that I'm excited about, what we get to do through entrepreneurship, real estate, and the development and the access we get to do all across the globe.
Y'all, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because Jessica's already dropping gems. This is going to be so fun. So make sure you in the comments, y'all know how we do. We're going to get ready. So one, you already blew me away from the beginning because I've had that moment too where it's been like, am I putting my ladder up against the wrong wall? Like, is this actually where I want to be? And I think especially many of our listeners who are in the corporate space, they're doing the things that they all taught us to do, but is that actually what's true for us? So tell us about what was that season of your life like?
You know, we're on this path of self-discovery, and that's what I was about to say. When we're in college, or for me, I can only speak for me, I can't speak for everybody else. But when I was in college, what did we start doing in our senior year? Looking for our dream job, right? Mm-hmm. The pressure of us on our dream job. And I actually heard a professor say this. He was like, dream job is an oxymoron. Who dreams about working? I was like, oh my God, who dreams about working? But that's what they've thrown you to do. So what happens is when we're in college, we're looking to see, where can we go to get a job? Where can we go to get a job? So what you start doing then is you start looking at all these job descriptions, and then you go and then you're banging your head against the window, and then you finally get that job and you're so excited. But then as Malcolm Gladwell says, after about 6 months, the excitement wears off. And then you're wondering, well, what did I really just sign myself up for? Especially when it came down for me. Well, I love to travel, and I was taking a vacation and I used up all my vacation time, which I normally often do. And they said, cool, you can borrow from next year. And I was like, well, next year, I want to go on vacation too. I don't want to just take a vacation now. I want to take a vacation next year, the year after that. I ain't going to keep borrowing until I owe y'all 50 years. All right, okay. So that's what I realized. I was like, how do I take my power back? Because one of the things I did was I gave my power away. And don't get me wrong, there is a time and a place and a season. But I feel like just as fruit has its ripeness at the right time, at the right moment to be pruned, to be eaten, because if you sit there too long, it then what? Rots. That's a natural order of progression. So we are meant to be in movement and in constant motion, in constant discovery of ourselves. And that's why we get to explore so many different things of ourselves from we go to school, we go to college, and we do all of this exploration. But then the job, right? We get on the job and that little description only uses about 20% of the utility of who we truly are. So then that's how you get to the point where after months or years even, you don't have the full fulfillment. Because you went from a job description that was really on the cusp of really who you fully were, with no other form of expression for the other 80% of who you truly are and how you show up and what you're on the mission for. So that's where entrepreneurship, it helped me to slow down and really take a grasp of the other 80%. Not just the 20% that you're paying me for to be here, but the 80% of who I am designed and destined to be through divine purpose. And when I start planning based on who I am versus what the job description requests, that's how I'm able to show up in the world different. And real estate allows me the affordability to live a purpose-driven life, all whilst being able to pursue my dreams.
Wow. Y'all in the chat, I need you to put discovery, because entrepreneurship is like you learn so much about yourself that I don't know if you would have had the time and the space. And it's one of the things that you mentioned that I think is so key and critical is you're sitting at this job and that's your focus. So when are you actually discovering more about who you are? Because who we were when we graduated college is not the same 10, 15, 20 years afterwards. But we devote so much of our energy to this job. When we get home, we're exhausted and depleted. Don't let us have families. And so that's the obligation. We lose that part of ourselves because we don't have the intentionality and the time to be able to do that. So
and that part, and I know it's tough. And even when you're in those moments, it's almost just like, you know, when you're underwater, I don't know, did you ever play Ring Around the Roses and you all go down under the water and try to see who can hold their breath the longest? Now, there comes a point where you're like, I really got to let it go. But something in you, especially for those that are competitive and that have actually ever done the game for real, you find the extra strength to hold it just a little bit longer. Right. So that you can make it. And that's what I'm going to have to call on you to do. If you are working and you work in 5 jobs and you got 3 kids and you are the sole bread provider for your family, I'm going to say, I feel you and I see you and I see you holding your breath underwater. But get just a little bit more energy to take a little bit of time for you. Because I guarantee you, when you slow down, you actually can speed up faster than just going. Because a lot of times the need and the want is, I got to do more, I got to do more, I got to do more, I got to do more. And before you know it, you're busy. And when you look at the production rate of what you're able to produce in being busy, you may find that it may be more acute to slow down, strategize, and then be smarter. Because if you give me 4 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 3 hours sharpening my axe.
Come on. Okay, so you're now in New York, right, at CNN.
I'm now based in Atlanta.
Well, no, when you were before you got into real estate, you were in New York at CNN, right? And
yes,
I mean, journalism major. So this is goals, literally.
Yeah.
What was that self-discovery like?
2 weeks after I started working at CBS in New York, I'm 22 years old. Oh, don't get me wrong now. I was popping for the gram. The gram was popping. Because 2 weeks after I lucked up and got this job at CBS, when I lucked up, I mean, it was a lot of work that took to get there. But I wound up being at CBS radio. I had no intention of being in radio, but a mentor of mine was like, I met with the global HR director of CBS. And she was trying to get me work in TV, but nobody was hiring at the time. I didn't realize this was about 2009. What happened around 2008, 2009? Okay. I didn't know this, but I'm in college and just graduated. So I didn't realize the economic impact of what was happening. So she couldn't get a job in the television space. So she was like, but I can put you on the radio. And I was like, I came up here for TV. I studied TV. I've been working in TV. I came up here for TV. So that taught me about the art of pivot, because I was then able to get on in radio. And then I was able to get a sales training position that they had just started. The power of pivot. So I was able to get on. And 2 weeks into this position, they hired a new radio show morning host. His name is Nick Cannon. A couple of you may know him. And I wound up working at the Nick Cannon morning show at 22. When you talk about real estate, when you talk about journalism, when you talk about success, what better place to be than in the number one market, working at the number one radio station with one of the top entertainers and performers of our time. And that was such a special place. The celebrities that we saw come in and out. Like I said, I was popping for the gram. And after some time popping for the gram, and, at the time, I can't say now he could pick me out of a lineup, but at the time, Nick was precious enough to know everybody's name in the office. And that created us. Like, I remember Jay-Z and Trey Songz, they were on tour and they were being interviewed inside of the studio. And I was waiting to get a selfie with, the artist in the studio. And I remember Nick Cannon, he was actually outside the studio and he was like, "Oh, you don't want no selfie with me?" And I was like, just to have that level of, and to this day, I can't go back and, how your phones die. I'm like, I need to go get that phone.
Yes.
But to find wherever that selfie was. But it was just like, as popping as I was for the gram and as great as he is close to me, we took a selfie. He knows my name. But what did that add to my bottom line and bank account? And that's what I really, like, as I went home and had such an exciting day, like, because then fast forward, we went to the elevator and tried to stalk Jay-Z and them in the elevator. So, they met us in the elevator. Jay-Z was like, "Let the ladies go." I was like, "Wait, but you're Jay-Z. I was trying to get on the elevator with you."
Right.
So, but as I'm sitting in my bed having this amazing moment, sitting about all the things that, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to share this? And then I realized, what amount of money did that add to my bank account? As I know I'm gonna get a lot of likes, I know I'm gonna get a lot of shares, and the clout is there, but it felt very hollow. And on this self-discovery, on this journey, I was like, I meet so many celebrities: Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Bruno. At the time, Bruno Mars was brand spanking new, but from the South, I already knew him, and I already listened to him for B.O.B. because he did that song. B.O.B. I was already on Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars came up there and did a quaint performance for our office. And I knew every song. I was the only one who knew every song. So he came up to me afterwards and he was like, "I saw you." Because it was almost like, you know me before anybody else know me. You know me. And when we had that moment, it was so special. And he signed the autograph, photo. But then what?
Right.
That was such a beautiful moment. But then what? I mean, now I wish I had that same level of access with my entrepreneurship. I would be totally different. But at the time, to your point, you get so distracted by the shiny lights. You get so distracted by what that meant to rub shoulders, but it did not add anything to my bank account.
Right.
And that's where I was so perplexed. And then that's where I was like, I got all the success. I'm meeting all these celebrities. I'm having all these moments with these celebrities. But what does it add up to? What does it mean? And I kept asking myself that internal question. And that path of self-discovery was long. It was years. It took, from 2011 to 2015 before I finally found that path of real estate. But I kept asking myself that same question. And that's what led me on the quest to find real estate, to own my time, to give me the finances, to have the reach and access that I felt I wanted or needed from people that I was passing by, until I learned how to create it for myself.
Wow. There's so much here. That is so good. And it speaks to your courage, because a lot of people couldn't walk away from that. And especially to see this desire and to think, well, maybe I just need to be more like these celebrities. I need to do more of that in order to fill this void that I'm feeling. So what was it about real estate that made you decide, this is where I need to be focusing my attention?
Well, so for one, so my journey ultimately led me to move back to Atlanta because, for one, it was too cold. Like, I was on the South.
We Southern girls, come on.
The reality is, I didn't want to spend another winter in New York. As much as I loved it, I love the people, I love the things. So like you said, it was hard to walk away, but then winters were even harder. And we worked on the water. And now looking back at it, I was so blessed. I was so blessed to have the opportunity at that age. But I am so grateful that I came back down here to Atlanta. I love Atlanta. And I'm able to get in my car when it's cold. But what are things? I went to a Les Brown conference And really, it was just going to get encouraged, inspired, because I feel like I was on this journey and I'm just like, well, where is it leading? I was a serial entrepreneur. I started doing, marketing, consulting, because I continued working in media. So I would do consulting. I was doing Uber. I mean, I was doing all of these things. And so it was like, something's got to give, because for one, I have a wedding that's coming up and I got to get my life together. Because so this husband of mine can be like, she got her life together. And it's just like things weren't working. I was trying. What else did I used to do? I feel like one time I had 4 jobs. I was managing my aunt's daycare. I was doing Uber. I was, like I said, doing a consulting company. I was doing, multi-level marketing. I was doing, but I felt like I was grasping at straws on the way down. And that's where I just needed some encouragement, some uplift. And I went to a Les Brown conference. And that's how I found out about real estate. At his conference, not only do they offer encouragement, but they also offer other ways for you to get involved. I learned about the 4 appreciating assets, which is jewelry, art, real estate, and stocks and bonds. And some people try to loop in crypto into that as well. But there are 4 appreciating assets, and those are things that you can invest money into without having to do anything further, for the most part. Now, real estate sometimes does require you to do a little bit more work. But for the most part, you put money into it and your money grows without you having to do much else. Even in real estate, once you get it at the right level, it can then perpetuate and produce income without having to do anything, cleanup and maintenance, but not having to do anything else.
Wow.
And so
okay.
once I understood that, it was just like, wait, this sounds like something I can do, because like I said, I was grasping at straws. This sounds like something I could do, because then I was already in media sales. So a lot of my skills that I've been working on and practicing in corporate. And that's one of the things I say, be careful when you define yourself by the job description, because you have so many more skills that maybe you're not getting paid for. You're getting paid for those skills, but there are those soft skills. And those are going to be the things that help you translate into entrepreneurship, your transferable skills. So I started looking at what skills that I had that I didn't want to get paid for, but what skills that I had that I did want to get paid for. What skills? Notice I'm not saying job description, because one of the things when I was in corporate, it's like, okay, before you leave this job, go find another one. But I knew that I wasn't going to go find another one. So it was like, okay, this ain't no job description. You're not going from one job to another. I'm not going from Google analyst over here to Yahoo analyst. I'm going from Google analyst to Jessica.
Right. Come on.
So
what is that?
how do I change it? I had to understand who was Jessica then, because you better believe when you go for that job, they're gonna ask you everything. Who are you? Who do you feel you are to represent our brand? Well, then who do you feel you are to represent your last name?
Come on. Yes.
So that's the power that you get when you reposition how you look at the situation. Corporate is your training ground, because there is something about corporate that works. Whatever company that you've been at, how many ever years they've been in business, you have a lot to learn when starting at 0 to 1. So now, if that is your intent to leave corporate America, then now make this next 9 to 12 month rampway of your lead off. Because as big as planes are, as fast as they go, they still need a ramp up period.
Right.
They still need a ramp up period. So give yourself that ramp up period. I mean, don't get me wrong now. When I went to Les Brown conference, I went that Friday. I went into work Monday to quit my job. And I am so grateful that I had a boss
Jessica!
who said, what are you going to do? I'm so grateful I had a boss who said, what are you going to do? And when he said, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to figure this real estate out. He looked at me and was like, you getting real estate? And I was like, yeah. He's like, stay here a year, figure it out, and then come back. And I am so grateful. I keep in touch with him to this day. I'm like, you are forever my angel for giving me that ramp way to amp up. And that really allowed me to get everything together to build and catapult into what you see today.
Wow. Shout out to him, one, because a lot of managers would not have given you that covering. So that's amazing. And also, like, for us to be reminded, we can go to these events, these conferences, connect with these people and get really hyped up. But we definitely need to have a plan. So before we ready to put in them notices and tell them folks, we out of here, tell us about what that ramp up period, what was that time for you? How did you spend the time? What were you doing?
So for one, like I mentioned, a lot of your companies have you ever worked in corporate?
I'm in corporate now still.
How many years has your company that you work for been around?
Oh gosh, my current company has been around for like 80 years.
80 years, right? And most
Mm-hmm.
times, so if you could look at a scale of 0 to 100, is it a Fortune 500 company by chance?
Well, I work for a nonprofit now, so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
But I
well,
have
they've
been in
had,
Fortune 500 companies. So yep, I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
so you've been working in these companies, like imagine 0 to 100, 100 being the companies that are on the Fortune 100 list. They run the world. They're probably the
Mm-hmm.
top 3 on the Fortune 100 list, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 100. And then 0 is not even started yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most times we come into these companies, like you said, it was 80. How many years have you been there?
I've been there a year.
So you've been there a year. So you
Mm-hmm.
already came into the company. It's already at 80 years out of 100. It's
Mm-hmm.
already, so it's already established. So
Mm-hmm.
you're getting skills and learning already established. But that's just like when you go to a restaurant and you enjoy an amazing, delicious meal. But if you go home, let's say, you go to South City Kitchen or Olive Garden. I like Olive Garden. Yeah, let's go Olive Garden. I just got back from Italy. So let's say you go to Olive Garden, right? They bring out this amazing, beautiful pasta. And you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh my God, this pasta is so good. I actually like the pasta at Olive Garden. But then let's say you go home and you got noodles, you got Alfredo. Do you know how to put that together to replicate what you just ate?
Mm-hmm.
Is it assumed? No. Do you have a recipe? Not always. And
Right.
that's what's happening. We go to these companies that are already put together, that are pretty, that have everything that we need. And I'm like, I'm going to go and I'm going to recreate this by myself. And then you get there, you're like, wait, this don't taste like how it tasted there.
There's
What's
so
going
many
on?
moving parts and pieces. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But it's not that you are that deficient. It's just what they didn't tell you is that LeBron James didn't come out his mom's womb 6'5".
Come on.
He came out his
Mm-hmm.
mom's womb as a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like our dreams and our visions start over at 1. What Brian McKnight say? You start over. You start over at 1.
Right.
And you start over, and that's the missing piece and the key piece, that we learn, have all these aspirations and our dreams and our visions. But what are the fundamental principles of building a business from 0 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
From 1 to 10, which is a
Mm-hmm.
totally different conversation than the 10 to 100. And
Yes.
if you're only coming in and seeing the piece of the conversation that showcases 75 to 80 or 75 to 100, and you never knew what the labor pains of putting out a baby cost, that's what you suffer when you don't get the education and sit back and understand what are basic business principles. I don't care if you are a mom and pop shop, if you got a hair salon studio, a real velvet cake baking business, whatever it is, your company needs basic building blocks if you're looking to ever scale your business into something that's beyond you. And that's one of the things that my dad helped me to formalize, the difference between small business and hustling. We call it hustle enterprising. Like, how do you take it from just being a hobby and something you do on the side to something that you can scale and grow into a legitimate business?
Mm-hmm.
And having those business fundamentals for anybody, understanding the 0 to 1 is really what helped me to transfer successfully into real estate.
Shout out to Dad. Dad seems like he dropping all types of knowledge, and he has been a pinnacle to your success. So that's amazing. Okay, so walk us through that journey then. You made this decision. So we know you commit first. We figure it out later.
Yeah.
So you've decided, I'm going to be in real estate. Your manager said, okay, well, give yourself a year. Let's give yourself a year. Did you actually give yourself a full year?
Action.
Did you actually give yourself a full year before you left?
Well, yeah, actually it was about a year and a half. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that actually came to a point where he was just like, hey, are you going to go or not? Because I can't keep covering for you. It actually came to that. But one of the things, taking networking, taking immediate action. Once I did do the course and the training, the education, once I found out about real estate, it was an offer to get into training. And that's where I paid $20,000 to get into the education. Did I have $20,000? No. So that's why when people tell me, oh, I want to get enrolled in real estate, but I don't have more than $1,000. It's not that I'm being mean. And it's not that I'm a money grab, but the person that I had to become to get that $20,000 when I did not have it, because I was that passionate and driven about changing my life and my current circumstance, is the same person that came that you see the headlines for to close on a historic $8.3 million hotel. The same person who closed $19 million portfolio hotel was the same person who had to go and find $20,000 when I did not have it. And that's the power of what you get to gain by doing something you never thought you would do.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You talked about the woman that you had to become in order to be able to do that. Walk us through that. What did you notice about how you grew in that time period?
For one, having mentors and coaches and understanding the people who are feeding into you, surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to be, understanding the power of team and collaboration. And I like challenging myself and picking out growth areas. If somebody tell me something I'm not good at, I want to find out and eat up and soak up. But why do you think I'm not good at it, and soak up and become good at that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm constantly evolving and working on the things that I'm not. I'm constantly working on my failures. I'm constantly working on my downside. Even now, it was interesting. I had an event last Thursday, and I wrote an exhaustive list. I probably got it somewhere around me. Oh yeah, it's right here. I had an exhaustive list of all the things I need to change, correct, adjust, and move forward. And my team, and I actually have a call with them after this. They were like, it was phenomenal. Like we had an amazing, and I was like, but I am constantly, but that same fervor of who I am is what consistently has me evolving in business. And that's just like, okay, how do we do to get this done no matter what? And like you said, once you make the commitment first, the resources, and you start putting yourself in the rooms and networking. And when you start networking with the right people and telling them your vision, because your vision is that clear and is that plain, that they can see it. They can see how they can get their returns. And then you can start to connect and work with more people, and you can grow your vision to more than just you.
Absolutely. Now tell us about your first deal. How did that come about? How did you know that was the one?
So I started networking, and honestly, I didn't know it was the one. Oh, and that's what I meant to mention the last time. I'll mention it now. I started networking. I went to my first networking event, and the guy there, he was like, well, I'm out in the field all the time. I was like, cool, I'll join you in the field. And I went in the field with him, and he was like, well, you can get this one, this one, this one. And I was like, I can. And I was like, but I can't. I just spent $20,000 over here. He was like, oh, you need money? Here, I'll help you get access to capital. I was like, oh, is that easy? And next thing you know, I was able to get he was able to show me how to leverage business funding to get access to, because at the time, I ain't never done nothing major. So I had the education that I knew enough to trust the process. And that's how I got involved. Now, one of the things that I learned, was that first deal a good deal? I don't know. Now, financially, it was a horrible deal. It was horrible. But if I would have never got started waiting for the perfect deal, I would still be sitting here now not started. I knew that and that was something that taught me. And even now going into new ventures, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. The quicker I can get my failures out the way, the faster I can get to the success. Because even now, like I just got back from a 14-day European trip, and I was hosting this event right when I got back. And my team, they were like, we should not host the event this close to you getting back. It's a major event, And I was thinking in my head, because this was the first event for this venture, I was thinking in my head, it's going to fail. I know it's going to fail. I know that. But I need to hurry up and get it out the way so that when we do the real one that I can sit down with, we've already gotten the failure out the way. And I've adapted that all the time for my first deal. Like I said, there are so many lessons in a dissertation I can write for how I never should have gotten into that deal in the first place. So we can set that aside. But when we look at how it actually got me into the game and gave me the confidence to then go to the next one, to then go to the next one, to then before you know it, I had 4 houses. And my husband finally was like, stop. But I had 4 houses because I just kept saying yes. Because everything that I taught myself about getting involved in real estate was that I needed so much money and so much of this and so much. It was so many things that I told myself until I did the first one, that although a failure, I found out it was easier to get into than I thought. And it's just like, well, if I got to fail before I succeed, let me hurry up and get through the failures. So that's why I started my classes in December, and I already purchased my first home by February. By April, I had 4. Not because I had all the money in the world, but because I was like, I need to hurry up and get the failures out the way so that I can hurry up and get to the success. And that drive to hurry up and get it, it drove me to wake up and get the education. It drove me to be out in the field with my mentor and get it. Because I was like, I'm up to a lot right now, and I really got to make this work. So when you talk about who I had to become, I had to start shifting my habits. I had to start changing how I talk. I had to start thinking about what I'm doing. The same work ethic that I did to thankfully make it up the corporate ladder, that worked there. But I'm going to have to shift it and do something different to build my own table. And it's going to look different, but it's going to come through consistent action, taking the leap and getting educated. Surround yourself with the people that can shift the trajectory of your life.
Wow. Okay, wait, we got to go back. So first of all, I need you to say your quote again so we can make sure that people get it. Tell us. So hurry up and fail fast. Say it again. You said it way better than I'm saying it. Say the quote again.
I honestly don't even remember the quote, but I was like, you know you're gonna fail, so hurry up and get the failures out the way. In order to get to the success, failure is there. So hurry up and get the failures out of the way.
Hurry up and get the failures out the way so you can get to the success faster. Oh, yeah. I love it. And that's a hard one. That's hard work, right? Because we don't want to fail. It's amazing to me how when we step out in these new ventures, we know we don't know what we're doing, and yet we still give ourselves a hard time for not being perfect at it, which is mind-blowing. And so already
adapting what the crazy part is? You know what the crazy part is? And this may be hard to think, but if you said your company been around for 80 years, mm-hmm. Could you imagine, do you know your company's history or have you learned it? Mm-hmm. Like how it got started on the onset? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what those first few meetings was like for those owners? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine being in a place, like what's your role in your title?
I lead the recruitment department, so I'm the senior manager of talent acquisition. Hey y'all, Tiffany here. Are you looking to purchase or sell real estate? As you know, I'm your aid to assets, and I want to help you with all of your real estate endeavors. Whether you're local here like me in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, I can then help you purchase or sell your next property. If you're looking to purchase or sell outside of North Carolina, let me know too. I can still help you. I have a team of agents all over the country that I can connect you with to partner on your next deal. Let's get to the closing table, y'all. We buy our way to wealth, whether that's buying right or selling better. Can't wait to hear from you. Click on the link in the bio if you want more information on how to personally work with me or an agent on my team. Talk to you soon.
Even better. Even better. Can you imagine the conversation they were probably having when it was just him and that person with the vision? And they were like, man, we keep hiring the wrong people. We need somebody who got expertise in hiring efficient people so we can scale and grow our business. Mm-hmm. And then in comes you. And that's what we neglect to think. We think that it's the opposite. That, oh my God, they got so much to offer. And I'm just a little peon here working at corporate America. And I'm just a number. But no, that's how bad they needed your help. That they were willing to pay you $50, $60, $80, $100,000 to solve a $1 million problem. They was like, oh my gosh, we can make so much more money if we had help. And that's the thing people get in entrepreneurship thinking, I need to be able to do it. I'm boss. I'm this. Well, if you anybody's boss, then you understand it's all about delegation.
Right.
It's all about having the right infrastructure to build the team, to make it happen so that it's not overwhelming. You are the specialist that they're hiring to build their entrepreneurial venture. Mm-hmm. And when we get clear that that's what's actually happening, what does life look like when you get to attribute your skill sets that you want to get paid for to you and your venture? Now, I'm not saying, remember, I started off saying the corporate has its place. I feel like, honestly, everybody should have at least a 10-year career doing something in the corporate space before going out on your own, because it will help give you the discipline, consistency. You can see enough patterns. You can get access to resources. And, they have already established it and figured it out. But you better get quick about starting your own journey. Even if you're cultivating it and building it on the side, if you want it to grow into a venture that can be self-sustaining and ultimately feed you when you get off of the guaranteed, I don't want to say off the plantation, but when you get off of the guaranteed check that you know is coming, when you've been developing your baby and your business along the way, it'll be ready to feed you and sustain you when you're done with your 10-year internship.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's so much value. There's so much that we can learn when we work for other people without having the pressure of having the responsibility of it all being on ourselves. And so we get to see the intricacies of how a business works. And I think that is something that a lot of people are missing when they're on their jobs, but they know they have other desires. You get to learn on someone else's dime. You get to see what they're doing wrong. One of the things for me when I stepped into leadership, I said, well, I have been learning from all of the leaders that I did not like. And so now I know what I don't want to do. Let me make sure I figure out what type of leader I do want to be. And so being able to expand that and learning, okay, I know the businesses that I've liked, the businesses that I don't. How do I incorporate that into my own? Now, one thing you said that I'm not going to let you slide past is you started this real estate course in December. You got your first property in February and then had 4 by April. Did I hit that right?
Yes. Yes.
Ma'am.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but well, for one, remember I got the 20,000 that I didn't have, right? And one of the things he helped me to understand about leveraging business credit. So one of the things that they said, or they teach you, is that you get 0% interest for 6 months. So if I got 6 months, I was a newlywed 1 year into marriage, just told my husband I'm spending $20,000 on education that we did not have. And we just paid for a very elaborate wedding. I didn't have the space to take 10 years to figure it out. I had to figure it out in 6 months so that I could pay the debts back, make him happy, and all of these other things. So I went into the first deal. Like I mentioned, the first deal was a failure. And that's when my mentor, he was like, well, just do this deal over here. So I went into that deal. Then I went into so that's how I went to 4, trying to make up for everything else that didn't go right. Okay. And ultimately, that's when my husband was like, okay, you can't keep making up for a loss with another loss. So that's why by 4, I stopped. But at that point, I had 4 houses that I had to figure out how to untangle the mess. And on one end, you can't say, wow, that's very risky. How would you ever do such a thing? But on the other end, what I then began to learn and who I had to become to get untangled out that mess, because I was so fervent on paying back that $20,000 that I invested into my seed education, that it took me on this ride of figuring it out. And no, it was not fun. No, I did not want it. But blaming anybody around me would not have changed the circumstances that I got into. It took me to put on my big girl drawers and be like, okay, we're here now. I can't blame this person. Why would you ever put me into a bad deal like this? Or this person, why would you ever, da, 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 da? Which could have been easy. And that would have left me as the victim. And I would have very much been right. But being right would not have changed my circumstance. Being right would not have gotten me out. And the person that I had to become to figure it out is now how I can sit before you in my 30s, having amassed as many assets as we have and doing the types of deals that we are, because I had to figure it out. And I'm actually grateful for it. So that's why I was like, as much as I would have wanted the perfect scenario, everything to go right, and then I would retire in my 20s, the lessons that I was able to learn through transacting those homes, that level, that was the real school. Not the education I sat and learned, because now in the grand scheme of things, when I look back to what I actually paid $20,000 for, I provide way more in the educational courses and the training, and I don't charge nearly as much. And so that's where it's always interesting, because everybody was like, is it worth it? I can never say not, because that $20,000 was so much to me at the time that it took focus. It took drive. It made a relentless person out of me that if it was $1,000, I wouldn't have thought twice.
Yeah, it has to hurt a little bit. Like, it has to hurt a little bit. You need to miss it in order for it to matter. Because how many of us have bought a course or, paid for something and it wasn't significant enough, and so we might not even crack that thing open. I know I am guilty of like, I had the best intentions, but I didn't. But the ones that I put some real money in, I'm at every call with my notebook and I'm ready. And so that is the psychology of the way our mind works and the way that we have to focus on things.
And that's what it's always interesting to me, because I find myself in a rock and a hard place, because with me coming to this level, I definitely, I that's why I offer a lot of free educational classes, but people don't respect free. And I hear people complain when people charge X amount of dollars, because even when there's been talk about what's happening with InvestFest and like, oh, people paid thousands of dollars and they came to InvestFest, and I can't believe they would do that. And not even Diddy didn't teach them anything. And I was like, wow, I actually host a free class. People sign up and then they don't show up. But then they'll be the first ones to complain about the hundreds and the thousands of dollars that they paid and didn't even learn anything. But then somebody who's genuinely pouring out their heart and doing it for free, you don't talk about it. It's like, oh, you show up just for Diddy? Well, Jessica helped one and you show up for Jessica because you don't know Jessica. Well, of course you're going to show Diddy. So you got to dangle a carrot. So it's always like a rock and a hard place. Like, it's almost like people don't know what they want. Like, you'll more readily show up because the name Diddy and learn nothing, but you paid. But you won't look twice at somebody who you may not know, but will give you everything, has the receipts to back it up. and you don't even see the value in paying that. And that's always the paradox where people complain like, if you should give it out for free. Well, we do give it out for free and nobody appreciates it. So the price went up and we charge, and you better not complain.
Absolutely. Listen, y'all, for listeners, listen, the free webinars, you will be amazed at it. Sometimes it's just one nugget. Sometimes it's just one thing that you need to move you to the next step. And so as someone who has paid thousands and thousands of dollars investing in myself and my education, don't sleep on those free webinars. And yes, they're going to have an offer at the end. And you know, if the free one was value, imagine if you paid for it, how much more gain you're going to get. So just throwing that out there. Now, one thing I did not do, which I love to do it, but you mentioned, let's talk about these receipts, because the achievements that you have made, ma'am, I don't know how often you get your flowers. And so I want to publicly make sure that I just say thank you for illuminating what's possible. One of the reasons I created the Aid to Assets platform is because I wanted us to see us in these seats. You do not have to be a 60-year-old white millionaire in order to be a real estate investor. That is not the case anymore. And so what you do, what you have accomplished is phenomenal. So first, let me apologize for not allowing you to toot your horn when we first got on here. Tell the people just how much you the real deal. Will you mind sharing us what your portfolio looks like now and what you've been able to accomplish?
So my journey started in wholesaling, actually, and transacting those first few homes. And then it grew into flipping. And I just started doing a lot of flipping and renovation of homes. And then so I ultimately started a development company, and then we started building from the ground up. Each level, my teams got different and shifted in their skill set. The project and asset got bigger and bigger. But honestly, I think it was still trying to pay back that $20,000. And that's one of the things that's honestly just kind of shift me off. And I just built business around it, and I kept evolving and growing. And ultimately, you know, in the development space, and my girlfriend, I was sharing the story because remember, I'm a journalist at heart. So sharing the story online whilst actually building it and doing it, people were watching. I didn't even know they were watching. But people would come and be like, oh, how's that going? Or how's this going? So now we start doing community engagement. And my girlfriend would see this, and she's like, well, I've been in corporate and I've been working 14 years on the corporate side in the hospitality industry. She was like, well, the same thing you're doing, the same thing the guys do that I work for. And I was like, well, I mean, it's a thing to it. And she was like, well, let's do that and get us a hotel. And I was like, let's go buy a hotel. And, you know, it's not every day that you can have that vision or have those people around you that help you do that. But sure enough, I mean, with our powers combined, it took a couple of years. It wasn't just an overnight thing, but we started on the journey. Now, it's so crazy because it took us 2 years to get to the right deal. But once we did find the right deal, we did pull the trigger. And that's what we now know as a success. Once we pulled the trigger, it was relatively easy. But she was like, the same thing you do as far as gathering people through my 3-part formula. I created a 3-part formula that transacting all of my houses, I realized there was a common denominator that as long as you have the opportunity itself, the land, the vendors, which are the skill set and know-how. If you wanted to go to, I'm building a resort in Exuma, Bahamas. If you wanted to go to the Bahamas, you wouldn't go study to get your pilot license to go to Bahamas. You would go pay Delta and they will take you to the Bahamas. So that's the same concept with your skill set and know-how. Whatever it is that you don't know how to do, just set your goal that you want to do it and hire the people who know how to do it. Like if I want to plan a retreat to the Bahamas when our grand opening, I'm going to hire Delta and the travel agents to plan everything out so that I show up and do what we need to do. And then the capital to execute then comes with the plan, with the team, and the opportunity. With those 3 things, the capital to execute is automatic. There's so many people, I don't have the money. I can't get the money. I can't find the money. The money is all around you. It's the clarity and the vision. It's the clarity and the vision. If you don't think the money's all around you, watch how many times Amazon go to drive up and down your street. There ain't no money around me. How many times is Amazon truck coming down my street? Somebody's spending money. I'm not coming to your door.
I can't even blame it on nobody else. How many times is Amazon coming to my house? Like,
how many times it come down the street? And that shows you how many times people around you got money. So you can't say, I can't find no, Amazon getting all that, Amazon coming, taking all that check that can go to you in your dream. Amazon done laid out their vision, they plan, they done wrote it, made it plain, and they bring it all to you. And you sitting there watching it go by. You better learn how to get your plan together. You get your plan together, you get your vision, you build your team through networking, and you take committed action and you keep going.
I love it. Get the plan together, the opportunity, build the team, the money will come. Because how often, if someone asked us, how much money do you need to make your dream a reality? So many of us will not have an answer. We don't know
They ain't planned it out. So imagine if you had an extra $100 and you're walking and somebody asks you for your $100. Now in your head, you probably like, I can go swimming or, whatever you can do with your money. And somebody asks you for it. And you say, well, what do you need it for? And they was like, well, I don't know. Would you give it to them? If you had plans to use your $100 to put into Amazon to get you a book that was going to give you your plans, and somebody asked you and they didn't know what they were going to do it, would you give it to them? Would you? I'm asking.
No, I wouldn't personally. Not at all.
But that's what people are doing when they're like, I can't find money. They're effectively saying, I don't know what I would do with it.
Right.
And so the person who has the money, you got the $100. Amazon just left your house. You got the 100. But you said no to me who needed it because I had no plan.
Right.
And that's all that's happening. There's money, that's one thing I learned about this industry. Be aware of people you least suspect. Because for one, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't even put on my makeup today and all that. A lot of times people with the opportunity that can put you on the next level, they may not have even had the time. They may have had 5 calls this morning before they got to you. So then they had time to put on the makeup and do all that. And you want to run to the person with the makeup and got all the time in the world. But it is the person who just barely made it with their sweats and t-shirt. Because they had 10 meetings this morning, just got back off the trip to Europe, just hosted their own event, building the resort and got 3 more meetings, doing a hedge fund and got a meeting with an attorney on 2. Like, I don't have time to get dolled up. I've been needing to go get my nails done. I ain't got the time because I got 10 other places to be. And it's so interesting because the lights will have you fooled because you'll be like, I'm going to go over here. You'll be surprised at where the money lies. But if somebody caught me with the right opportunity, you'll stop me dead in my tracks. I don't care how many sweatsuits that I have. As I'm getting out my car, I'm like, no, what you say? Where you say that opportunity? How much we can make? So you got to get to clarifying your vision and your dream. And that's why I'm all about journaling. I'm all about writing because so much, and so much of my career was going. And then I was doing great. And then we can talk about the accolades you said and after partnering with my friend, we wound up buying a Hilton. And then we were the 2 youngest to acquire a Hilton and be a part of a Hilton acquisition that was valued at $8.3 million. And then, partnered with some shifted partners. I started doing development and building from the ground up, started doing mega mansions. And so met new partners. And then we were able to get and purchase a hotel asset. We got another portfolio that we purchased, Staybridge and a Hampton Inn. And then now we're building a resort in Exuma, Bahamas. So it's just been this huge snowball of growth. And I purchased some other assets. And even in the purchasing other assets, I had a loss. Because mind you, I had so much success. Wow. Now, mind you, there were some failures that happened in there, but I was still able to turn it around. But I did face one failure that was a blow. Like, it's like, you ever been, woo, like, okay, I can take the slap, turn the other cheek. But you get one of those that knock your breath out. And I didn't know how I was going to recover. And it was very challenging because I was like in the midst of so much success. I should not be facing 2nd grade level failures. But here I stand and I have to sit in it. What do I do? It caused me to question myself, to question my ability, to question everything that I knew. Because I've been able to, I help other people out of dealing with loss and this in their business. How do I get the same thing? And I helped save them and I couldn't save myself. And that was the hardest thing. But you know what? You talk about who you have to become. Who I became, I actually wrote this gratitude journal. Gratitude helped cut through the noise. where
Ooh.
failure would not allow me to get up.
Mm.
Gratitude helped me to cut through the noise where failure would not allow me to get up. Because as much as I cried and hurt for the failure that happened, I still had other things and other responsibilities to take care of that I had to
Right.
very much be present for. And as a CEO, we want to be the boss. We want to be the this, not just when it's easy, but you got to smile too when the times are tough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I learned. And it's so crazy. As much as I hated going through that failure, and as much as people can look and laugh because I had to go through that failure, what you did not know, though, is the woman who came out on the other side is stronger than I've ever been. And with the gratitude and taking the time and spending the time and the days and putting in the work of self-reflection and journaling and understanding the power of who I am to become, I welcome failure, which is why I run into it every time. Even Thursday, the event, quote unquote, failed in the sense that I had 100 RCPs and less than 30 people actually showed up. But who I became and what we're able to now build, we're going into the tech space, but what we're able to now build because of that failure, I embrace it and I'm so excited about it. I couldn't stop writing and what we're creating now because of how things failed. I know now that failure is just getting ready for the success that's ahead.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow. So one, I'm a journaler too. I have years of journals, and I think there is something so very valuable and precious to sitting down, slowing down, and letting things flow, and then being able to go back and read what you yourself wrote. So we'll definitely have that in the description, y'all, if you want to get Jessica's gratitude journal. You cannot get more when you're not grateful for what you already have. And so
That part.
really instilling that practice of gratitude is so very critical. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that and how it helps to frame, because you can be grateful for the failures, the losses, because when you find the reason to be thankful for, you're able to pull out the lesson. And so that's huge as we embark on this journey and being able to see the good in everything. We know it is going to work out for those who believe. So we just have to stand on that. So you mentioned you and your business partner were the two youngest Hilton hotel investors. Then you went and got a Staybridge, and there was in a Hampton Inn. Was that it?
Hampton Inn. Yeah, Hampton
Okay.
Inn.
Staybridge and Hampton. Now you're building a resort in the Bahamas. So we going international. How did
Well,
this
actually,
come?
so I'm not gonna lie. I sit on the board of a nonprofit called Favor Friday, and
Okay.
we launched back in 2021. And we actually been helping people across the globe. And we actually launched in Africa. And we worked with a village there and we've been making repairs. And so Travel Noir covered that, what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the title read real estate developer now developing in Africa. And so that started people reaching out to us from all across the globe, and
Wow.
as well as the Hilton Global team reaching out to us as well, just about our impact and what we're able to do. But it all still sourced from our 3-part formula. How do you take opportunity itself,
Mm-hmm.
skill set and know how what to do with said opportunity, and then take the capital to execute to close the deal? And really that can be replicated all across the globe, from the work that we were able to do in Africa to the magistrates that have reached out to us to bring, because real estate and development brings tourism. Tourism redevelops
Mm-hmm.
and builds economies because you're hiring people to work. And these governments all across the world want Americans to come because we're the best tippers, we're the best partiers, and we love to spend money. And they
Mm-hmm.
love to welcome us. And so when you start understanding that it's a part of a bigger vision, that's why I always say, my vision is so vast about global entrepreneurship and building and taking that 3-part formula and applying it all over the world. When I start talking about 1 or 2 houses, it just doesn't pale in comparison to the larger vision of what we get to do. So when someone comes to me and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, I want to get in real estate, and the first thing I start talking to them about is goals, and they're like, I thought she's going to tell me the IRR and the ADR and the 65% rule and, all of those things. But I'm like, you can learn that on the internet or through one of my courses. But what I am going to teach you is global impact. What I am going to teach you is purpose-driven life, because that journey, what you're seeing is the result of me taking that time from 2011 working in corporate to 2015 when I was able to finally get in real estate, is me sharpening my axe, me understanding the vision longer than just a house. Because if the goal was to get in a house, and I did it the first day.
Mm-hmm.
If the goal was just to get a few houses, and I had 4 by April. The thing is to build yourself and put yourself on a trajectory and a vision that has purpose beyond just the immediate thing that you're looking to do. And that's the thing. Don't get short-sighted by just today. Now, don't get me wrong. The vision gets covered day to day, which is why the constant journaling day to day, it helps you to focus on the now. But you want to have the building blocks to think, plan, so that you can produce even greater than where you are. And that's how we got into the development space all across the globe. It's understanding it on a larger purpose and a different mission than just one house at a time.
Wow. You can feel your vision just when you talk about it. You can see the conviction and the passion that you have about it. And so I hope that listeners, you all are able to hear that as well and to feel that. That's the level that you want to have for your personal vision, whatever it may be, whatever that looks like. You want to have a vision. When you speak about it, it becomes so vivid, so real, that other people can feel just how much you are working on it, and they can see what it is that you are working to accomplish. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jessica. That is amazing. So before we wrap up, what would you say now if you go back to 22-year-old Jessica when she was at CBS in New York, had no idea she was ever like, could 22-year-old Jessica even imagine the woman that you are today?
Not at all. Not at all. Not the least bit. Now, I was thinking about that the other day because my hair was cute. My locks were like real long. I had just got them retwisted. So I was like, with the press perms, corporate professional,
Girl.
ever imagined being, we had a costume party for the networking event the other day. And we came, we had an outfit that we got from Dubai. And so I was like the princess, and I was dressed and with my locks. And I was like, I am somebody I never would recognize in New York. My New York self with the corporate and not much travel would not recognize who this woman is right now. And that's honestly the fun, because I hope in 10 years I don't recognize myself either. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm something I never thought I would be. Mm-hmm. Because I always want to keep expanding, keep growing, keep being in the constant now and showing up for who I need to be. That's why I have a vision so big. One of my other mentors, he was like, and he don't even know he's my mentor online, Vision with Mind Valley. He was like, you should have a vision so big that you can't even accomplish 50% of it in your lifetime. You can't. So all these people who like to accomplish 100% of your goals, you don't impress me. You tell me you haven't thought big enough. You should not be able to accomplish at least half of your goals in your lifetime. Wow. That's why you can see a man like Elon Musk with a vision to go to Mars. He don't even know if he'll get there. But the technology and what he's able to do on the route, that's who he's on the journey to become. Fall in love with the journey. Falling in love with the journey is a thing that has been the beauty. Because like I said, I don't know if I recognize myself in the next 10 years, but I will have appreciated and loved the journey along the way.
Wow. Beautiful. So beautifully spoken. So you embody so much of what we have here on the show. And so our last thing is just the vision. We believe in vision casting. We believe in helping people to speak what is not seen until it is seen. And so when we look back on this interview 3 years from now, what can we expect from Jessica in your business?
Oh, so I mentioned my 3-part formula, and I call it my deal maker success formula. But my 3-part formula, we're turning into technology. My husband is an app developer, and we are merging our forces to build tech that helps to connect investors with wholesalers so that they can accomplish and achieve greater deals. It's not just enough for me to have done what I did if I cannot help community and those behind me to accomplish and achieve the same things. So we're working on the tech to bring the efficiency to the real estate process, to democratize and demystify what people see as scary, big, and all of that. So just as great as you saw me go in real estate, I'm about to be even greater in tech. And in 3 years, I definitely see we would have sold this company for more than 8 figures.
Wow, that's amazing. Come on. Congratulations already. That is going to be so cool and stepping into a new space. And so phenomenal. I can't wait to see
Yeah.
all of how that comes to fruition and learn more about the app. Now, if people want to tap in with you, they want to learn how to either join some of the webinars or some of the courses that you have, or even learn how to invest in hotels, how can they reach out and find you?
It's Jessica Myers on all major platforms. You can also reach me at itsjessicamyers.com. It's jessicamyers.com. It's Jessica Myers on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's Jessica Myers. Threads.
Love it.
Still.
all the things. So y'all, that will be in the description code, in the description notes. Please follow Jessica. Be on the lookout for another one of her webinars. If you're in the Atlanta area, she has some dope events. And so y'all pull up and learn.
The Deal Room Meetup. The Deal Room Meetup is my in-person events to help bring investors, wholesalers together, and really those who want to watch and be a part of the process. The Deal Room Meetup. My thing is get in the room, start making immediate action, and you literally see my 3-part formula at play. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. But show up.
I love it. I'm in Atlanta a lot, so I'm going to have to see if I can come in and pull up to the next one. I want to see how the magic happens, so that'll be so good. Jessica, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and experience. Y'all, we got some mindset work to do. We got some vision work to do. And so we just thank you for sharing your journey with us and can't wait to see all the amazing things you continue to accomplish.
Thank you. And it's so funny, and I appreciate that, and I take the flowers, but I feel like I'm just getting started.
Yes, that's it. That's how you know that's how you know you in your bag, because you've already got some success, but there's so much more. There's so much more inside of you. And so I'm happy to just get to be a spectator.
Join the party. I don't like spectators. I'd be like, get in the field and work. Let's go.
We gonna make some shake. We gonna make some shake for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait. Okay, y'all. Well, y'all, this has been another amazing episode of the Aid to Assets podcast, where we are helping you find your way to the closing table. Bye, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of Aid to Assets. Remember, your journey from 9-to-5er to successful real estate investor is within reach. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep investing in your future. If you'd like to know more, connect with me on Instagram at Aid to Assets. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, happy investing.